Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV. Again, we're stuck on this facility, so yeah, let's try to get out of here. And guess what? This is also counts as the game's subway level of sorts.
Hey, Dwibs.
Yes?
Believe it or not, the plot is about to get even dumber.
Oh, wait, I forgot that we're having the boss almost immediately.
Well, okay, two things. One, I thought you were going to say, they say enemies are cocoon 50 times in this part.
Sorry, Tail, we have to rush this game out the door. We can't exactly...
I have a Mandela effect. I thought with the section between the start of the level and the boss we're about to get was actually longer.
No, that's
I actually thought it was shorter.
It's more so. It's more so because I have the Decepticol, so I can just get my way out of here.
And two.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Maybe it's because the game is like 13 years old at this point. Plus we've done a lot of other things, but so far, I'm not feeling anything towards this game anything more than I feel towards, say, Time and Eternity.
You're just bored, basically.
If I may, there's definitely an easy explanation for that. Well, several explanations for that. One, you had a lot more preparation for this than me and Shiroi did the first time when doing this. Like, now that we know the song and dance, it's more like just about okay, think about it like you played for a game, you played a final boss, and it was the toughest thing ever. Yet when you come back to that final boss later, after already experiencing other stuff, it feels more like, alright, we can do this again. It's just more like going through an old bout of homework again. But the first time when experiencing this, with little to no warning, because even though I had been warned about how bad this game was, reminder, this game was part of my first proper exposure to Final Fantasy outside of Kingdom Hearts, so...
I really would...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Holy cow. And mind you, this was when I wasn't even really that much aware of how Final Fantasy normally works, so I arguably had a pretty nice and blind experience to this. It was terrible, and granted, this is before we went through a lot worse games like 13-2, Lightning Returns, The Quiet Man, Barry Fencer F, and so on and so forth. Mind you, it's still bad, but when you see how bad it really gets with this franchise, you look back on this game and think, hey, remember the good old days when things were, not as terrible?
Hey.
I can tell you this with well, not exactly right now, but we're about to get to a plot, a point where the game is also gonna do something that you still wanna probably like.
Yeah, and
Off-screen stuff.
And that's the thing, Dwibs. Remember, you have been pretty annoyed by this game because of how the characters have been acting a lot too. So,
well, it's more so
I think at this.
Sorry.
Well, it's like I said, I haven't really reacted that much differently compared to stuff like Time and Eternity.
Sure.
Oh, fair enough. And in fact, Time and Eternity used to be what we considered the worst game ever until we saw how, oh no, it could get worse. Much worse.
He stinks.
Right, man.
Mechanical
Oh my god, they're alive! What a shock!
Planning to start a war?
Ew, it's a government conspiracy, I tell ya.
Not if we dismantle them first.
Okay, to be fair, this is something different from 7, whereas in 7, it was a company conspiracy. This one's a government conspiracy. It's totally different.
That's also because of how, well, like I mentioned this in the past, but it was kind of interesting to see how 7 kind of revolutionized concepts a bit by completely going away from kingdoms and empires and just having a collection of micro city states where it just so happens that one electric company rises to power when you get down to it, which is the equivalent obviously of the evil empire, just in a more modern context.
It's really funny. The games we're looking at right now, 13 and Xenogears, are both in ways tied to Final Fantasy VII. 13 was the game desperately trying to one-up 7, whereas Xenogears is the game that 7 could have originally been, and arguably 7 did take inspiration from and refine into a much better story. Interesting, isn't it? How they're both tied to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that being said, the major difference that for this one, I'm really wishing Garland will show up and paint the and paint the floor with these people's blood.
It's funny considering how in Duodecim, canonically, Garland is the actual rival of Lightning.
You know,
let's have Jack come here and make lightning explode in crystal form, please.
so how much you want to bet Jack's gonna be in the next Dissidia game?
Actually, he's already confirmed to appear in Opera Omnia, the mobile one, which makes sense. Technically, both games have been developed by branches of Tecmo Koei, so it's basically the company still patting on the back.
I think I've realized the real charm with Strangers of Paradise. That game is officially Final Fantasy's answer to Shadow the Hedgehog when you get down to it.
So by that reason, so by that logic, German, Strangers of Paradise has a boring plot, shitty voice acting.
Also, isn't one problem, but one thing is the fact that outside of very specific pieces, like say a couple of non-canonical branching paths, Shadow the Hedgehog takes itself too seriously.
Oh, no. Tio, it is pretty much the same flavor as Strangers of Paradise. The stories take themselves so seriously, but they are so gosh dang cheesy with the swearing. It's beautiful.
It's like, Jeff was talking about the edgy attitude of the games rather than any specific things.
No, that is true. I'm just saying there is a difference between, something that is, even if it's not necessarily self-aware, something that doesn't still take itself, that has some levity in how over the top it is, and something like, say, Bomberman.
Alright, and now...
Well, that's the thing. Shadow the Hedgehog actually...
Yes. Okay.
No.
Alright, Dibs. It's time for some more crummy exposition, as Craig Ferguson would say.
And very huge stupidity to boot.
Yes. Sid? What the hell are you doing here?
Guess what? Sid Reigns is here out of nowhere.
What the hell are you doing
Aren't you
here?
supposed to be back commanding the rebel forces?
He wants to show off his fancy cloak.
Oh, easy, guys. It's all right. Reigns is a Sanctum officer. He's been helping us out.
Why are you here?
Just to stop her.
You
Wait, how do you know that?
Wait.
Her lightning senses are tingling.
That's bad storytelling for her to just go out of nowhere, call him a traitor for no reason.
You didn't even let him say anything.
Yeah, guess what? Sid has been at the sea all this time.
Dun dun dun.
Where's his mark again?
To assist you.
He's completely dressed, so we can see it.
Now do you
Which, you know what, to be fair...
It's implied it's on his phone but he has a glove on it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm surprised all of the other characters thought of that.
Because they're morons,
kind of a
Dibs.
It was a deliberate machination.
So yeah, Sid is pretty much telling us that the entire plot has literally been written to their favor.
Oh, let him say it. Let him say it.
Instruments of Cocoon's demise.
We've been played for fools.
A Cocoon Fal'Cie? Why? Why? To restore the Maker.
The barrier maker.
Basically, God.
The entity responsible for creating both humans and Fal'Cie.
Let me tell you in a
Long
flashback.
ago, the Maker.
Finally, a flashback. Some kind of explanation. Yeah. 26 parts in.
In a sense, human and Fal'Cie are brothers, orphaned by the same parent. As for the humans, they forgot the order imposed by the Maker.
That's because that's not what the Pablo Crystallis actually says about whatever.
The Maker order something at their restaurant, but they forgot it for all these years.
Yes, remember too, like the localization team has had trouble even knowing these facts because they weren't given these facts. So.
To be fair, from what I've seen, this is also the explanation in the Japanese version, so...
No, actually, because, again, what the Pablo Crystallis says that the Maker, as we know by insurance is Universe, doesn't give a single shit about humans, technically speaking.
Oh, okay. To be fair, Tio, wasn't that the lore given by Lightning Returns as opposed to what they had now?
It was a thing that was established since the beginning, but again, more on that later, don't worry.
Their existence
I could kill you with a bit of fun.
About that.
Shell.
So there you go. While we talked over, but basically he said that the Cocoon Falsi are bored, so they want to destroy Cocoon for the walls.
And there's
Well-
such and there's such a callback
Oh,
to
hold
Maker
on.
by
Just by doing nothing. We'll do
Okay, problem solved. Okay, and that was Final Fantasy 13. I guess we're done. We solved
Hey,
we
hold on.
solved the problem.
Lied to us. What happened to your dream of rebuilding Cocoon for the people? Was it all a lie?
I didn't say which people.
A shadow of a dream. From when I was human.
I guess
From when I
so.
gave a shit.
Though to be fair, he didn't
Once
say
I
which
built the
people.
influence to make things happen, there was change. I gained all the power I could hope for, but was a puppet with no will to wield it.
Oh my
It
god.
wasn't the Falsi who changed. It was me.
Now my hand glows.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's actually on his hand.
A lassie, tied to an inescapable focus. A slave of destiny. I'd lost hope.
They could have showed us that little glowy thing earlier in this cutscene, considering what happened.
They did put attention though to the specific hand when he talked about that though.
Falsi order.
That said, he's here of his own accord.
Basically, he decided to disobey the Cocoon Falsi's orders and instead kill them all so that they can't destroy Cocoon.
I too.
Only one flaw.
The Falsi can't destroy
And,
Cocoon if there are no Falsi.
And as such, literally while he's fighting us, he's gonna transform into a thief.
Not just that, you moron. You didn't think this through, did you? What do you think happened? Let's say you killed them indeed. What do you think will happen next? The Falsi will just brand new Lassie and start the process all over again.
Which
No,
also
no, 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 no.
answers
Don't you
which
see his
also
flawless
answers what
law-
Vanille said before.
Don't you see his flawless logic? If I kill you, the Falsi plan will fail. Bitch, the Falsi don't give a heck about this all. They literally are patient enough to do this. Mind you, let's get down to the nitty gritty. The Falsi essentially want to die so that they can bring back God.
Yeah, basically, they want to talk to. Here's the basic gist of it. The Falsi basically amount to little more than just whiny kids who want to see Mummy again. So basically,
Daddy,
they.
why don't you answer my call?
Okay. It's a
So in
bit
a
more
desperate cry, but yes, I know it's more complicated than that. That's why it's a joke. But anyway, it's so basically what happens is they decide to make this big call for attention by destroying cocoons to see if Mommy will come in. Okay, kids, what the fuck are you doing?
That's because the Falsis are not the direct responsible, but technically they're subordinates of the two minor deities that also answer to the Maker, which are not reported in this, as in Pulse and Lindsay instead.
So, Gio, a question.
yes,
What do we say to somebody who doesn't have this, access to the expanded lore that we have in that regard, then?
That's the
What
thing.
do you want me to tell you?
Well,
I don't
That's
know.
the thing, though. It's told terribly in the
See, the thing. Yeah, that's the
Well,
problem.
I'm not denying that. I'm just, still giving you information, so it's not a case of it's not explained at all.
Well, it's Teo. You already know the rule. If it's not explained in the game, it doesn't exist, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure, but I prefer that to be, still admitted while still knowing the information instead of saying, oh, it's not explained, so I'd rather not know at all.
Well,
That's not what we're saying.
And he suffocates.
Don't trust me, Dweebs. The fight, on normal circumstances, the fight is a bitch if it goes on forever.
Ironic, isn't it?
pretentiousness.
Gave you a terrible haircut.
Triumph. How it ends isn't important.
Also, the whole rushing into fake that like they did
Yes.
isn't part of her character. She could be impulsive.
Well, that's the thing, Dwiz. Remember, supposedly she got over that by this point. She's mellowed out at this point. Remember, she even apologized to Snow for it, so...
And he turned to Crystal.
Because by losing towards them, he technically fulfilled his focus.
Brilliant. The Falsi are fucking morons, like, but anyway...
It's a system that is bugged to the core because of both the Maker and the deities of Lindsay and Pulse.
See, the thing is, Dwebs, the reason me and Jove had such a big problem with that with what Lightning does is because remember, she immediately, the moment Sid shows up, she immediately launches at him with her sword. You traitor! Even though she has no reason for thinking that he's a traitor yet, because
And whoop, he's gone.
Because sometimes it's not only. I'm not even referring even to us. Like I've seen it a lot when people are critiquing fiction. Sometimes they see characterization and think the product's bad just because of it.
well,
Like us citizens would do.
well, here's the thing, though, is I don't think you understand my point, though. Like, first of all, this is a character-driven story, so of course characterization is important. Second, see, let me break it down to you. Whenever you write screenwriting 101 or character writing 101, when you write a line for a character, that line has to line up with what the character at that present moment in the story knows. It doesn't make any. Let me put it this way: it wouldn't make any sense for in the beginning of Ni no Kuni for Oliver to suddenly say, actually, Drippy, my mom cannot be brought dead because there's actually a time travel happening that prevents that from happening. It wouldn't make sense for Oliver to say that because he has no way of knowing this. See? But the reason me and Jova are harping on that moment is because Lightning has literally no reason to think that Sid is a traitor because all she's seeing right now is him showing up here. Now you can say, it's suspicious that he's here. Okay, it's suspicious, but that doesn't automatically mean that there's something bad afoot. Lightning should have at the very least given him at the very least a minimum chance to explain himself, but she didn't. She immediately lunged at him. Like immediately.
Yeah, that is also one that does also demonstrate to me that again, just because people bitched about the localization of this game, it doesn't automatically mean that the original version was this magically good plot just because.
Oh, it wasn't. No, trust me, there's nobody here saying that.
The original version was still bad too. It's just that the localization version skyrocketed things into the stratosphere with how bad it made stuff.
This is a terrible script made by multiple necessary revisions and rushed, combined with a terrible localization. So it's 2 times as terrible as typical bad scripts.
Let me put it like this. Whereas I found Final Fantasy VIII to be a good story just told poorly, I find this to be a bad story told poorly. So it's doubly bad. Anyway, Tio, to go back to your concerns earlier, mind you, I do acknowledge that stuff is told in, other material. Heck, that was one of our running bits in the original playthrough here. What me and Pedro were going on about is just how frustrating it is that this stuff has to be found in other media here and there, especially when it's Japanese exclusive. That's just dickish to overseas fans.
I suppose that's one advantage 15 has over this game, because yes, 15 also has that issue of having to go through multiple things not in the game just to understand the story fully. But on the plus side, it's more easily accessible.
Not just that.
Yeah,
15 is still enjoyable without watching Brotherhood, and Kingsglaive is, in my opinion, perfectly skippable.
It was talking about all the DLC campaigns that got added on along the time, which arguably
including all that stuff.
Oh, that okay. Technically, that's just DLC for the game itself. So I will argue that's different than anime tie-in stuff. I will argue.
I will agree that it is a much better case than 13. It's still an issue, but it's a lot more accessible than the stuff with 13.
They do seem to have gotten better at it at least, because with the 7 remake, the most side stuff we're getting from that's not in a game. From what I can tell so far, it's just like a side novel about random adventures with Tifa and Aerith.
Look.
Honestly, funnily enough, the 7 remake is actually incorporating a lot of stuff that could only be found from literature and novels into the actual games.
If I got one of the first things I would do if I took Kitaza's position was that I will immediately mandate something. From this point on, no more putting stuff in alternate media. Put your story in the bloody game, all of it. Don't Let's put it in the simplest way. Final Fantasy VI didn't have any necessary for reading any some material, so why should this one? Final Fantasy IX didn't have anything outside of its own game. Why should this one have this? That's my problem. Previous entries didn't do this. Why does this one feel the need to do so?
I suppose there can be one exception.
Like in 7's case where they had to add on stuff because originally Yuffie and Vincent were optional, but later on they did add a bit of media stuff which did tell us what Yuffie and Vincent were doing when they pretty much made them officially part of the canon.
What I mean, Jover, is if it's just if it's like new stories set in the same world with different characters, then I think that's fine to put in a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Also, most of the information tied to, for example, why the Emperor rise to power, what is his real name and everything, actually comes from the Final Fantasy II manga, but was released in 1989.
Yeah, and guess what? I hate that too.
No, but you said that previous entries did not add this.
Most. Okay, I didn't say all of them, but yeah. Let me put this way there. Every game should be like Final Fantasy IX. There you go. The entire story is just in the game. There's no mangas, there's no novels, there's nothing. It's just this game. Just the game. That's it.
Okay, to be fair, I don't think we should completely excise the idea of having manga tie-in stuff here and there. Again, what there needs to be is a filter on what exactly goes into mangas. And mind you, if it's like an adaptation, then that's completely fine, honestly. For people who just like to digest the story in a different way. However, if information is going to be, exclusive to those other media, it should not be crucial information that would really... Actually, no, not just come in handy, is pretty much borderline needed to make heads or tails of the plot. Which is what this game is, unfortunately... Well, not just this game, the 13 franchise as a whole is guilty of. Especially given the fact that, that little bit kind of reveals that the Falsies plan is useless, honestly. Which Steele mentioned.
Well, actually, no, that's not what I meant.
For me, it's one of those
No. About the whole Bunavezo couldn't really care less about the Falsies. So
not about the humans, not the Falsies. Okay. Again, in general, the hierarchy is Bullivels is on top, Lindsay Impulse, and to an extension Atro, but that's another kind of worms, direct children. The Falsies are the creation, to an extent, of Lindsay Impulse, and the humans were just beings that existed there and had no real importance until Atro intervened. At that point, the Maker just decided to fuck off, and essentially said to Lindsay Impulse, I'm leaving you the keys of my home, just try not to trash the place. And I think I forgot how much time has passed, but essentially they came to a point where Pulse and Lindsay started hating each other a lot and used the Falsies, which in turn used the humans, and essentially at war to each other. And at some point they said, well, this is going nowhere, let's use a mass sacrifice to actually, call back Daddy. That's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what I'm going about is the point about you mentioned about how Bunavelza couldn't really care less about Cocoon, honestly.
No, specifically the humans. Again,
mind you, doesn't that kind of mean that even this won't really do much to call him back then?
Actually, you remember how the ending of your original run was. It's more complicated than that because the only reason why Bullivels has a minimal care about humans is that because we have a soul, and that is actually a plot point in Lightning Returns. And that's only
know about that.
And that's only because Atro decided to be the paragon saint of humanity or some shit like that. Because even before that, humans were just these, for lack of a better term, like the Hollows or Dark Souls, just mindless husk that just wander around and just live there like animals on the places.
Tio, in a way, does that mean that the Falsies plan technically worked just 2 games later?
In a sense, yes, just not for technically 1 game later, just not for what they thought it was going to happen.
Tio, it's only mentioned 1 game later because 1 game later is the game that actually suggests that their plan was doomed to fail. Actually,
it's complicated. It's complicated because 13.2 applying its time travel rules jeopardizes the part of the lore itself by saying that again, just because of what's gonna happen at the end of his game, retroactively being said that it was Atro all along and it's doomed the timeline. still doesn't really fit with the grand scheme of things. I'm just talking about for the purpose of this game alone.
Pedro?
Hell, I'll even go one further. Where did this need, starting with Final Fantasy II, even come from? Of putting information that should have been in the game to begin with?
Wait,
Similar to don't.
Let's start it with Final Fantasy II.
2 is a case of what Jova said before. It was taking an adaptation. If anything, it changes quite a bit, a couple of things from the original story. But it does stuff like say how the Emperor came to rise, which you didn't really need it in the game, or his actual name, Mateus, and later games like DC that just essentially cannibalize those. It's kind of like what the 7 remake did with the novel characters.
Sure. But my basic point is, where did the need to even have, for example, I'll just use this one. How about this? What the fuck were they thinking when they thought it was a good idea to have novels that explain stuff, and not at all even think of localizing said novels, or even telling anybody outside of Japan that these novels even exist.
Fuck you, that's why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those are more the marketing rules more than anything, and I don't know what the Square usually thinks on that. Because I told you already, we got I thought it was On the Way to a Smile, localized for my country, only last year or something. And that was released more than 10 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think, supplementary material is fine in general, but I think stuff that is required to understand the story of the game should be in the game. Anything
really
else
should.
that you don't actually need, but is more there for those, typically people like me who are interested in that kind of fluff for a story, leave that kind of content to supplementary stuff, not key story details.
One thing
For
that
example, say something like, how Dicey in this case rose to power. We can easily come to, wait, what are we doing in Nier?
Hold on. Yes, Pedro.
No, actually, there's a cutscene now.
Looks like it's a dead end.
No.
Oh, it's already now.
How about
Yes.
I distinctly remember this dungeon being longer than this.
It doesn't.
Probably
It's
easy mode.
it's not longer, too. It just feels longer.
All kinds of challenges from Grand Pulse awaiting.
Translation, it's an excuse to have these weird and trippy
We can wait
visuals.
here if turn
Basically.
sounds better.
Okay, and now this is what's going to also be the beginning of weird character shifts
Yeah.
for the purpose of just. Okay, basically, this is the point where the writers don't worry, they're not saying anything important. This is the point where the writers realize, we have yet here some characters who have yet to get their Eidolons, right? Let's give Fang her Eidolon right now, even though there's literally no reason for her to be distraught right now.
I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the fight with Sid should have come at the end of this dungeon as opposed to just being put.
I think we did
in the
mention
middle of
that
it.
in the original commentary.
It bears repeating, though.
Sure.
But I didn't need to. Sarah was here the whole
Again, this
Sarah
would be
was
great
all-
to be having at the end of this
Yeah,
dungeon.
exactly,
but
that's
we're
it.
sort of in the middle.
You see it where Sarah was always in your heart all along.
is to not let our focus
Can you get her out? I'm not sure what.
listen to
You
Surgery
know,
is expensive.
Sarah and Ray.
I'm just saying this, really. What is stopping the Fauci from going, oh, okay, you don't want to do your focus? Alright,
What
see.
matters to me is that we protect
Okay,
the
get
truth.
in the next patsies to
Whatever
make
it
Indila see.
Same here.
Basically, motivational speech.
In fact, come to think of it, couldn't they have literally have made
Oh,
some
hold
of
on.
the staff
Hold
of
on, Jova. Okay, so, what's the name of this thing again? Not handshake, hand
hand in hand?
hand in hand, that's it. Hand in hand, guys. And Saz just does the muscle thing for some reason. And Lightning just smiles. And now, all of a sudden, for no reason, Fang starts bitching.
Me out.
Oh god.
If you all want to go it on your own,
What?
What?
then so will I.
Well, this came out of nowhere, didn't it? What?
Let Cocoon get what's coming. They hate us for being Lassie.
Don't get me wrong, you make a good point, but why are you only bringing this up now?
If you don't have the nerve for it, I'll do it myself. Go on alone, get stronger, and smash Cocoon out of the sky.
and she had a heart attack.
No, basically this is where Bahamut comes out of her.
Wait.
Which doesn't really make sense because, at this point, with her focus being, completed, she should already have Bahamut at disposal.
Also, I'm sorry, all these downer moments, and this is where Fang is at her lowest?
Yeah, it makes no
Like-
sense. Like, wouldn't it make more sense for there to be some kind of moment where Vanille is missing, or maybe hurt, or something along those lines? Like, remember, Vanille is Fang's entire motivation. It's what drives her. So it would make more sense for a moment like this to be tied to Vanille, but no, for some reason...
By the way,
That's
that's
Bahamut.
supposed to be the Bahamut base form. Look, I evaluated a lot of designs for this
ugly.
game, but
No, that's not Bahamut.
later,
Looks like Solaris.
his transformation will be actually in a more draconic like form, but even that one doesn't look great.
No.
Help us. Eidolons are our salvation.
Fang, shut up, the stupid juice is affecting you.
They come
It's more okay. Again, allow me to recap everybody for those who forgot. It was clearly established to us. Yeah, and then they're all protecting them because power of friendship. It was clearly established, and trust me, this is not the last time it will happen. It will happen in a later part as well. But
Remember, Hope hasn't gotten his Eidolon yet.
yes. Okay. So remember, it was established very clearly, both through the game and the data log, that this kind of thing happens when the Lassie has gotten to a breaking point where they're desperate, they've run out of hope, they're basically given up on life and everything, and the Eidolons show up to put them out of their mercy. But Fang is not at that point. She was just angry. She was just angry. That's it. There was literally no reason for Bahamut to show up. It was just. It's little like the developers realized. Oh wait, we haven't given her we need a boss fight, and we haven't given Fang her Eidolon yet, have we?
I think it would have been more believable if Fang stopped her toe or something.
Honestly, that's the problem with a lot of the Eidolon fights. Like, most of them come at very awkward times. Like, okay,
Some of them come fine. I will argue the one with Lightning and Saz is fine. The moments actually do fit.
If I may, Lightning's isn't so much that it comes out at the wrong time, but in hindsight, I feel like hers would have come better, like, right before they're about to take out the Eidolon, and then she has her epiphany, and that causes her to break. Because remember, even though she gets her Eidolon, she still is rather cold and aloof to Hope until, like, later down the line a bit. So I feel like it would have been better if she got
hold on,
it
Jova.
before her big
And
revelation.
somehow defeating Bahamut creates a magical blue road that allows them to cross the pit.
Sure, why not?
Well, sure.
Hoping that the plot become over.
Listen, keep our eyes on the goal and we'll figure something
Hey, it's
out.
probably
goal-
easier to buy this than them suddenly being
Alright.
able to fly.
It's more. Well, that's the thing, Shiroi. Now that
It's
they
still
have.
stupid, mind you.
That's the thing, Shiroi. Now that they have Bahamut, they can fly if they want to, actually.
Yeah, I'm surprised
then
they
never
just
mind what I
fly.
just said.
Surprised they just fly to their mission objective. where
It's
there's
like-
a limit.
Well,
Guys, here's a good question. What is their mission objective?
remember, Debs, we have yet to actually have a proper plan. So far, our plan is to go to Pulse because they're hoping there's some kind of answer there. They're hoping. They don't have any actual reason for thinking that there's an answer that they need in Pulse. They're just going there because, well, we have no other better ideas.
I swear to God, this cast is helpless. They're absolutely useless. Tifa, the Italian Senate, had more dignity than you people.
See, the thing is, the thing is, again, the reason I harp on this so much is because if the characters don't know what they're doing, then the audience, by extension, doesn't know what the goal is, and as a result, it's impossible to even be invested because we don't know what the goal is.
Let me put it like this. Imagine if we had an Ace Attorney plot where literally it's not even actually arguing about the murder case, it's just more so a side argument. Like, suddenly it feels like, wait, we forgot there's a murder case. Oh wait, we did, we went nowhere. Like, this plot is so aimless at
The
times.
data log supposedly saying that the reason Bahamut came out is because the Fang feels the turmoil and the decisionship wants to actually complete their focus while the others do not, and it's a combination of, fearing for everyone else's safety and wanting to complete the mission, but it's still way too rushed and doesn't have the same impact that the game wants to have.
And by the way,
the game realized, oh wait, that's right, we need to give the others their Eidolons, so here you go.
Also, gotta love Fang's mood swings. Her sudden turning against all Cocoon people because they hate Pulse people it came out, went away just as quickly as it showed up. Like seriously, it's just this writing is so bad.
And that's the thing, it's falling apart more and more the closer we get to the end. Like, holy crap!
You see, it would be like if me and Dwebs were walking down the road, and then I'd suddenly turn to this, Dwebs, I'm just sick and tired of your bullshit, and then Dwebs is like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, okay then. It's nice that you apologized. Okay.
So it's like in the Digimon movie.
Yes.
Yeah, when David.
Sad. Get over it. Okay. Wow, that was easy. And I kid you not, folks, that is literally the dialogue said in that moment.
Yeah. It's like.
Yeah. Although to give the Digimon movie credits, at the very least. It was funny in both the intentional and unintentional sense. I barely get anything like either of those from here.
Oh wow, congrats 13, you've been compared negatively to the Digimon movie.
The first one, I should say.
And we found an airship that just happens to be conveniently here so we can use.
Yeah, I'm sure that's totally gonna work given how old it looks. Oh, who am I kidding? The Fauci probably programmed it to become all new and sparkly.
Solaris.
So what? That's our exit? Pulse or bust?
Could be one of Daisley's traps.
That's not good.
Wait. Could be one of Daisley's traps. Even though he more or less told you to go and get stronger.
Well, I mean, Joe, this...
also says, don't do that. It's offensive for Europe.
We have seen... Well, Joe, we have seen before that the guy really loves making his plans more complicated than they need to be. So
Get it?
Kind of a character for him.
Get it, Sazzy's old. Ha 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 ha, even a boy's not. Jesus Christ.
Goofy tattoos.
But there's no way to do that.
Also,
this one.
Never know.
You never know. Oh,
Maybe
okay.
we just didn't think to look for one.
Wow, yeah, seems like Fang is in a much bright spirit than she was literally a minute ago.
I guess that's how you're supposed to be after getting your Eidolon.
What about your dad?
Lightning kind of was the same between
Tail.
after Odin.
Teo, this is not. I don't think this is normal. What kind of mental illness is she suffering from right now? Because this is not normal. I just.
Only I would know what that was. The world's
And again, showing that Hope has had his character development, that's nice.
Oh yeah, actually that's a good point, Jova.
Attention to Bob's behavior and species.
Yeah, I was about to say that too. Alright, notice, Dwips, how Hope has grown a lot. He's very confident, he's very assured of himself, and yeah, he seems to be very come to terms with the fact that and he's very hopeful that we can get this right. Because yeah, you can see to the point where he's literally a kid giving hope to the adults. So clearly, Hope's got this, right?
But as long as I'm the one who
and yet we still have yet to get his Eidolon.
Which means we have to have a very contrived scene to have him get the Eidolon.
Because his dad gets shot in the head.
No. But that's the thing. Like Theo and me have said various and countless times, that moment where Snow gets angry and confronts Snow, that should have been the moment where his Eidolon shows up. But no, again, you literally had the perfect setup. Snow would try to kill Hope, but then amidst that, the Eidolon would show up, and then Snow, despite everything, helps him take down the Eidolon, and they kind of bond a bit over it. There you go.
And Snow breaks.
It literally writes itself, Toriyama.
Oh, what about Vanille's Eidolon? Okay, yes, I know, it would have been a double scene, but wouldn't the scene with Saz arguably have been a great low moment for Vanille? Like, imagine if both their Eidolons came out to play. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Vanilla has more or less made nice with the group, so what's gonna be her reason to get an Eidolon?
That is true. There's nowhere actually that stated that both Eidolons can be fought at the same time.
And now we're flashing back to the date.
The 11th day.
Yeah, for a second I thought this cutscene started the same way Sonic 06's does. We start with a view of the water and we zoom up and we go up to the sky and there's a fireworks display going on.
It's a montage of Fate where they all were there during the
Fang
fireworks.
was getting buzzed at the bar.
Yeah, I think she had the brightest idea.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, that's I mean, to be fair, that is by default the best cutscene in the game.
What does that gesture even mean? You see what I mean? It's both Vanille and with that gesture, and Elise with the hands. Like seriously, what is?
Why?
At least with Elise, I get the sense that maybe she's praying, but yeah, with Vanille, I don't get that at
apparently
all.
now we're passing through a 2001 Space Odyssey
Of all
monolith.
things to take inspiration from Sonic 06. I'd be like if for like Final Fantasy 17 they take inspiration from Bomberman Act 0.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Grand Pulse, where the sun is actually natural.
Actually, Australia.
Pretty CGI again.
Grand Australia.
That's for later.
Yeah, we'll play with someone else.
Insert the laugh track, please.
He thinks we're lunch.
Yeah, like on the seafood buffet.
Seafood.
Where is all this unnatural humor coming from all of a sudden? Holy crap! Well, they're dead.
I'm on it.
Now remember, like
not in space to be fair.
of course. So this is why they had to give Fang Vanille the Eidolon now, because they needed it for this scene. There you go.
There you go.
There you go, Shira.
yeah.
See, Shira, like I told you, now we can fly.
Great start we're having on Grand Pulse, right? Two
This
nearly
is
dead
fine.
already.
It's falling with style.
None of this is stylish.
Well, the CGI looks pretty, to be fair. I mean, it's more so that we don't care.
I like to imagine that the Fausty actually willingly gave Fang that Eidolon at that moment because
And
they
with that-
knew they'd need it.
And with that, our party has now destroyed 2 airships. Sid would be so proud.
I mean, since a dickhead anyway. So.
Yeah,
Actually, that can be applied to any seed.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really feel sorry for Sid getting his airships destroyed because he's a dickhead.
Well, you're talking just to one.
I mean, he probably. I mean, there.
Ribs. What Sid are you talking about?
Hold on, let him finish. Go on this.
Oh, any Sid really from how much of either a dickhead or angry arsehole he's been in each of the games that I've seen so far. He probably would have been so angry he probably crashed the ship himself anyway at some point.
Yeah, give Sid from 7 some slack. Guy had his life manhandled.
The one from 4 rather will take his own life rather
All right.
than, have his airship
Well,
crash.
I mean, 7 Sid has his own problems, but go on.
It's a place.
So yeah, this is the point where the game becomes a completely different game. I'm not even kidding. This particular chapter is basically taken from a completely different game. Throughout this
There
entire...
you go, guys. A chocobo being murdered. Isn't that a great representation for this game's effect on the franchise?
Basically, yeah.
That's a visual representation of what they do to the song in the next game.
Yes, Pedro?
That too, yeah. Yeah, at this point in the game, we've been going through hallways. But however, for this one part, the game now decides to open the fuck up. Yes, 26 parts in. 27 technically, since we're going to actually explore it in the next part. 27 parts in, the game decides to finally open up and have an open area where we can explore, do side quests. Yes, only now do we have side quests available to us. And yeah, that's basically it. And for the record, once we finish this part of the story, the game will go back into hallways. So again, you'd think you see developers, this is where you can tell that the game was rushed and didn't know what the fuck they were doing, because probably what happened is maybe the game was originally going to be a lot more open, but again, they had to cut a lot of stuff to make the deadline, and this was the only open area that they made that this survived the development process.
Oh my god, somebody played Xenoblade Chronicles, I see.
Well, that game wasn't out yet by this point.
What about, let me check, what was the
I
Japanese
could've
release
sworn
date?
it was.
2011 in Japan, if I remember correctly.
Munch.
The Maker created Falsi, and they, in their desperation to be reunited with the Maker, created Lassie. And Lassie? I wonder what we'll end up creating.
Start making sense with your stupid narration, please.
Yeah, that line made no fucking sense. 10 June 2010 for Japan.
So technically the same year.
Well, in that case, no. In that case, yeah. It's not that they saw it. It's more so it was a coincidence.
How uncanny, though, that really does look a lot like that Titan-shaped planet.
Bionis. Well, Mechonis more than anything. Sorry.
Yeah, basically.
How whimsical. Hey, Hope, why don't you use your boomerang to get them down?
That would make too much sense, though.
But hey, the chocobo chick is cheering him on.
But as long as we could keep our spirits
The Jimmy kept our hopes up.
Somehow.
Get off the stage.
Again, I really wish Garland would decapitate Vanille and leave her blood spilling for all the floor. Like,
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Pedro, he's too obsessed with killing chaos.
Pedro, the ground doesn't deserve that.
Wait, don't you see? If her blood seeps into the ground, it will just grow vanille seeds.
You know what?
And then she'll
Grandpa.
Terra Incognitas, yes, I know.
Since we're comparing previous Final Fantasy games to this one, you know when we were doing 8, and I went into it thinking, oh god, Sophie's going to be the most annoying character in the game.
But she actually ended up being
She was one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of hoping that this game would have that as well, and to be fair, it does to a lesser degree.
Which one?
Snow.
Oh yes, no.
Yeah.
No.
I get it.
Well, Deb's already told us that the one he dislikes the most is Hope.
Yeah.
And I do not blame you for that. Like, look, a lot of these characters have their own flavor for why you may dislike them the most.
You guys know my least favorite kind of character is the
hold on. Oh no.
You keep whining for no reason.
Oh no, guys! Apparently the Chocobo chick just told the rest of the party that apparently Hope's in trouble. I wonder what's gonna happen now.
He got hit in the head with a coconut.
They just literally pulled a Lassie. What's that? Little Hope fell down a well? Well, we better not waste any more time.
Hurry, Dwibs! Hope is in trouble, and only you can save him.
For me,
I mean, you'll probably make good compost for the ground, so it's better to leave him there.
For me, it's Vanille because not only we get 0 karma for her basically literally being the main culprit of everything that is horrible that happens in this plot, and second, again, like I said, I just cannot stand her voice. I just can't stand it. Every time I hear it, it rubs me the wrong way because
For me, it is still Lightning. Like, yes, she's technically better, but only because she's kind of become a nothing character at this point. Like, sure, she'll say a one-liner, maybe give a rousing speech, but other than that, she's just one of the guys at this point. Like, that's, again, ironically for the girl who was, the one touted as the main hero of this game, she really kind of just becomes a typical factor here and there. Mind you, like, hell, I'd argue Terra got treated better in the latter half of 6, and she's optional in that half.
Yeah, like technically, when you break it down to its bare essentials, this is technically a redemption story for Vanille and Fang. Really, the other characters are basically just going along for the ride. Really, and trust me, by the time you get to the ending, Dibs, you'll see what I mean. Technically, the other main characters, aside from Fang and Vanille, are basically just going along for the ride.
And I'd argue that at this point, And in regards to Sarah, I'd argue Snow seems to have a better connection with Sarah than Lightning actually does. Oh, sure, yeah, Lightning talks about how she wants to protect Sarah, how she was there for her, why she had to change her name to be a better person to take care of Sarah, and I just don't care. Because the game tells and tells, but does not do a good job of showing Lightning and Sarah's relationship. And the little that they do show, it's Lightning being a grade A jerk to Sarah.
Mm-hmm. That's the big problem, yeah. All right, which makes it the sequel unearned. You know, I mean, why should I care about saving Lightning as Sarah if, once again, like Jova said, I know jack shit about their relationship?
Because they love each other so much, Pedro. Don't you want to help those lost sisters?
I mean, that's a given.
All right, see you for the next part, everybody.
See ya.
Yeah.